Okay guys, so I'm working on the pumpkin project for the super easy centerpiece that we're doing. And I have all my supplies here. I have these thrift store pumpkins that I picked up. They're more like a gourd. And then just a couple of other random things I probably won't use for pumpkins. And then this one, which is a great shape. This is coming off, I'm gonna have to just glue this, but it's what happens when you find stuff at the thrift store. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my just basic craft paint like this. I want a little bit of a texture to it, so I'm gonna use baking soda. You guys know I've used plaster of Paris in the past to get some texture, but baking soda seems to work well, and it's something you have in the cabinet and you're gonna use anyway. So I have this, my craft paint and some water. The first thing you wanna do is mix your baking soda because it has to be thoroughly mixed first. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of this and mix it in this little bowl. Just do a little bit at a time. So, and it really depends on how much texture you want. You can use a bunch of this or you can just use a little bit. But I'm just gonna use probably, I don't know, we'll just play around with it. So we'll do this. The trick is to use warm water. So you wanna just mix this in a little bit and then kind of mix it up. You can see this is not very, it's probably too much water. This is not very texture, doesn't have a lot of texture in it, probably too much water. So we add a little bit more of the baking soda because I want a little bit more texture. And you just kind of mix it around. This is more pasty. This is more of what I want. Right, so you got like a little bit of a, you can see like the paste there. So just mix that thoroughly, and you gotta use warm water so that it really does melt, kind of dissolve in there. There you go. So it's like, there. And then we're gonna shake up our paint. And kind of dump it in. And then just kind of stir it up. And the water makes it a little bit thinner, which is fine. And you mix it up. And then you can see it's got just a little bit of texture. If you want more, you can add more now. It really depends on the look you want. You can also add more in the next layer because you have to do 2 coats of the paint. So I'm just gonna make sure that's mixed up really, really well. Like I said, you can either add more baking soda now or you can wait the second coat. So I'm just gonna put that in the water so it dissolves. And then I just use this big fat paintbrush and then just start painting on. I've also used, you can see, it's got a little bit grainy to it, which is nice because it's gonna add like a nice texture when it dries. And you can see where it's already coming through, so you're definitely gonna need a couple of coats, if not 3. So it's as a super easy project, but it's a little bit more time consuming because you have to wait between coats so it's for it to dry. And you can also, like these pieces are more flat, so I'm gonna have to leave it on its side. And then you're gonna have to do each coat kind of in between while the one side dries. So we'll put that to the side. But you can already see it's got that texture to it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of, and it doesn't even, you don't even have to be super neat when you do this. It can be kind of sloppy. And then if you want some extra texture, you could go kind of like a crisscross type of motion, where it gives you a little bit even more texture. And the nice part is once you finish these, you can, if you want to do a different color story next year, you can just paint them again. And see if you can do just stripes like this. Oops. And then you just let those dry. They dry really, really quickly. So the project really shouldn't take all that long. And then if you want to also, you can go through and you can paint these a little bit so they look a little bit more realistic. So maybe a little bit more green to it. This is a really quick, inexpensive, especially if you're using a thing of craft paint that costs $1 or, you know, $1.50 or whatever. I've also used sample paints that I got for our cabinets in the kitchen. I think we bought, I don't know, probably 9 different samples of different color, whites and green and things like that. So we used, I've used those for crafts as well. They're like $6 for a little, I don't know, little can of those. So you could use that kind of paint. You could use just like the really inexpensive craft paint. But you can already see where, you know, you're gonna start to create your own little look with the same color, keeping it all neutral here. So we'll let these dry and we'll do another coat and I'll show you the final product. Okay, you guys, so it is day 2 and I've gone ahead and done the second coat last night on all the pumpkins. And you can see where it's got this gorgeous texture. Let's see on all of them. They look really good. The one thing that I did want to mention is that you can't keep the mix longer than maybe 24 hours or 48 hours because it will harden on you. So it's already started to do that. So if you want to actually use this on other pumpkins or other things, you're going to have to use it pretty quickly. The other thing too, the nice part is if you decided next year that you wanted to do a different color, you can easily go over this with another color. You don't necessarily have to mix the baking soda in, but you certainly could and make it a little bit more texture to it. So because these will paint right over. See, it's got this really pretty texture. I'm gonna go ahead and take some craft paint and touch up the stems where I kind of got, you know, some of the white paint on it. And then I will show you how I put together the basket. Okay, so I've gathered all the pieces for my centerpiece here. I've already spread a blanket out on the table as a tablecloth. It's a super easy way to just add some color and reuse something, so you don't have to buy a specific tablecloth just for this. Plus I love the colors. So I've got my painted pumpkins. You can see and my little gourds here that I've painted. I touched up the paint on the stems just a little bit. I gathered some pine cones and some dried flowers from my yard, flowers from my yard that I dried, and these faux Indian corn, and my basket. You of course could pick a tray or a flat basket or something along those lines. And then I used this table runner that I picked up from Target, but you could use any type of small kitchen towel, tea towel, like another small blanket if you wanted to, but it has to be something that would fit in the basket. So let me show you. Oh, and I do have some candles in my candlestick holders. So let me get everything together and I'll show you what to do. Okay, so I have the basket right here. I'm just gonna take my table runner, or you can use a tea towel, like I said, or a kitchen towel, and you're gonna kind of just lay it in the basket. I like to have the fringe hanging out just a little bit on the end, like so. And then you're gonna start with your biggest objects first. So I'm gonna take the largest pumpkin here, and I'm just gonna tuck it. And you can adjust the towel underneath. I don't wanna see the seams, so we're gonna move those. Oops. And just kind of play with it a little bit. And the same thing with the pumpkin. If you wanna see the different edges, like the more round edges, or these up here. So I'm gonna kind of do that. And then you're gonna add in the medium-sized pieces. So I'm gonna add in, actually I want these pieces to stick out, so I'm just gonna do this on either side. And if you wanted to have it where it's up a little bit higher, so this was maybe up here, you could put something in the bottom. You could put like a small, usually I actually just bunch up paper towels or those old plastic bags from the grocery store or anything like that, just to kind of plump things up just a little bit. But for this, we're just gonna leave this as is. So then I'm gonna take this one, and you wanna kind of spread out your textures. So you wanna get the corn kind of in different areas, like that. And then you just simply layer in your gourds. And I'm gonna put one over on the other side, oops, here. And then maybe do the pumpkin in the middle. Or if that doesn't work, and you just kind of play around with it. So you just wanna get some nice layers. You see that a little bit. And then you start adding the smaller things. So I'm gonna add some hydrangea, dry hydrangeas, and tuck that in. And so that they're all spaced out. Just kind of tuck it in. One over here. And then add in some of the pine cones, some of the smaller pine cones in. So it's kind of, you can see where everything is balanced out. So flower, flower, flower. Maybe we'll do another flower over here. Oops. And we'll add another pine cone. Another pine cone. And there you have it. So it's super easy. You can swap this out for holidays. So say I want to just take this and add or make it for Christmas. So all you're gonna do is take the pumpkins out, maybe take this color flower out. You can leave this or add a Christmas towel, and then just use little greens, maybe wrap some little presents. That would be super cute. You could still use the pine cones. You could use deer antlers, anything along those lines where you can just transition this right into a Christmas piece. So there you have it. So I'll put the candles on the table and you can see how it all turned out.